Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Kumar, and today's lesson is in digital citizenship in the age of fake news. So, what does it mean to be safe online? Our internet fears used to center on credit card fraud and emails asking for sensitive information. We now have cybersecurity checks, spam folders, and most banks are pretty good about covering any fraudulent charges. So, we don't have to worry about that stuff so much anymore. Disinformation is trickier now because it doesn't always look like spam. It looks like memes, Photoshop, and deepfakes, which are computer-generated fake videos. And information is just as important as our bank accounts, sometimes even more so. So even if our bank accounts are relatively safe these days, disinformation influences how we vote, how we spend our money, and even our relationships with friends and family. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, the top dangers of life online, disinformation, and our own digital footprint. So there are several types of misinformation. Here are just 10. So as you can see from this infographic, there are types of misinformation such as false connection, when there's a headline or a caption that actually does not go with an original photo, but people put it together to make it seem as if it's meant to go together. Manipulated content, when real information or images are manipulated and meant to deceive. There's misleading content, when you have information that's either missing from the context or added to it in order to mislead the individual. There's fabricated content. So this is content that is 100% fake. It's made up on Photoshop, and we're usually pretty good at spotting it, but lately the fabricators have gotten so good that it's almost impossible to spot things that are fake. There's also sponsored content, and this is when something's an advertisement, but you usually don't know it's an advertisement because it looks like a real article. There's false context, when genuine content is shared with fake information, so it's kind of a mix of true and false. There's satire or parody. Now, we don't always know when something's a joke, and if something goes viral that was meant as a joke, real harm can be done. There's imposter content, when somebody creates a fake identification online and uses a genuine source to misrepresent another person. There's propaganda, when content is used to manipulate the viewer's own views. And then there's just error, when information is fake or dated or has been misproven, but it's still circulating online. So this is an example of misinformation known as imposter content. It's a very simple task on social media, such as Facebook. Anyone can create a profile, make up a name, throw a picture up that isn't their own. The danger is not simply in the photo itself. It's relatively a harmless story, the one that I'm using here, but it's the amount of likes and shares it has, 357. Sharing media like this is also known as amplifying. Here's another example. This is fabricated content. So it's designed to deceive. It wasn't taken out of context. It's not a real picture. Someone just photoshopped a giant blue whale under a bridge just to get likes. Now, this particular Twitter account generates a large amount of false information. It's like a fake news farm, and it's currently followed by 16,000 people, more than 16,000. Here's where falsified information can take a darker turn. Let's take a moment to digest this. Using your powers of observation, look closely at the picture. What do you see? Without using any technology yet, we can see sand in front of the wall and a patio set just on top of the wall. Okay, we don't see any sources cited, and we have no way to verify the truth of this claim. This claim was written by someone named Mark Simone, who has a history of posting inflammatory content. And he says, here's a picture of Joe Kennedy's house. Notice that it has a wall. So he's obviously making a point here. This tweet was originally posted in 2018. Now, this is an example of misleading content. Let's use some tech to look a little bit closer. When we're scrutinizing viral memes, a reverse image search is your best tool. You can do that by right-clicking on the image and selecting Search Google for image. Okay, so that is going to show you where this image actually came from originally. So one of the image results that comes up is this house is actually in Palm Beach, Florida, and Joe Kennedy lives in Massachusetts. So we can even do a Google Earth search of Palm Beach to verify that this is a sea wall, not a border or security wall. So there's a big difference. Once you shift that context, you can see that it tells a much different story. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Another result from the same Google image search is a list of articles written about this particular tweet. According to one of the results from Snopes.com, a popular fact-checking site, the Kennedy family sold this property in 1995 when Kennedy III was just 14 years old, according to the New York Times. So not only is this not a property owned by Joe Kennedy, it's not a border wall, it's a seawall on Palm Beach, Florida. This kind of misinformation is problematic not only because of its level of dishonesty, but because of the viral nature of our world. This image has been shared on Twitter alone, this is not even Facebook, over 13,000 times. It also received over 23,000 likes, meaning that it was really easy to fool thousands of people. This is especially true when a meme is playing on a group of people's confirmation bias, or people seeing what they want to see and what they expect to see. So here's another example. Actually, before I move on to the next example, I just want to say for the record that this particular tweet is still up and still circulating. So here's another rather inflammatory image. Who has seen this image circulating on Facebook and Twitter? I know I have. I've seen it shared numerous times, actually. And I wanted to have a closer look in case this was yet another example of manipulated content with a purpose. So I did a Google image search by right-clicking, just the way I showed you. And you can also do it on your phone if you download the reverse image search app, and that can come in really handy. So this is an example of manipulated content. So let's do another reverse image search to find out where these images exactly originated and if they're real. Here's what I found. A Google image search results in pages of articles on this exact meme, along with images of the original news photograph of women at a rally. Now, nearly anyone can use Photoshop, and changing the words on a shirt is a very simple task. Again, news images are being strategically used and manipulated as a form of propaganda, and many of these manipulators are coming from outside of the US. This is dangerous stuff. Going to Google and searching rather than clicking on what could be a dangerous link is called lateral reading. So exercise click restraint and practice lateral reading to change the way you interact with digital content. In fact, hover over a link before you click on it to avoid dangerous links. Do a totally separate Google search for that reason alone. So just a few examples of how many bait accounts exist on social media and even in online news ads. There is History Lovers Club, Old Pics Archive, Old School Cool, etc. They're seemingly innocuous names, but if you're aware of the many ways at which disinformation exists, you'll have a better idea of what red flags to look for. This is called digital forensics, and it's a life skill that will be one of the most important tools you have going forward into the 21st century and into each election season, I would add. In fact, in terms of social media clicks, 59% of links that are shared are not actually read or clicked on by the person sharing them. They only share it for the headline. So don't share unverified media or clickbait articles. Have a healthy skepticism rather than rushing to share everything that resonates with you. This brings us to the idea of our own digital footprint. So what is a digital footprint? It's more than your online reputation, although that is part of it. It's the digital trail that you leave behind. Have you ever Googled your own name? Those results are just the surface. Many of us began using the internet when it was still young, when anonymity was its biggest selling point. You could create a handle or a username and interact with people via chat rooms completely anonymously. Those days are over. There is no anonymity or privacy online. Everything we do stays behind, even when we think we're deleting it. So the question is, how are we contributing to disinformation? A viral and false meme is only as good as the amount of lies and shares it generates. So we can actually make a difference in how much we consume and in how much we spread. This is the story of a young man who did some great things. He raised a lot of money for a local hospital simply by tweeting out a call for beer. How did he do this? Well, through the power of social media. He was a college student who was out of money and jokingly sent a tweet to Anheuser-Busch asking for a case of beer. Not only did the beer company send him some, they sent him money for his college tuition. He did a great thing and sent $1 million of that money that he ended up raising to a children's hospital. The story then went viral, but as often as social media has the power to improve lives, it can also take them down. In this age of cancel culture, what happened next shouldn't really come as a surprise. Apparently, this student's digital footprint wasn't very clean. His social media history was unearthed by a local reporter who blasted him for past racist posts and comments. The comments were from his high school years, but time doesn't matter in cyberspace. But the story doesn't end there. The same reporter who unearthed the young man's racist social media life was himself a victim of cancel culture when yet another reporter found the original reporter had also made some racist tweets of his own. The moral of this story is to be careful of how you represent yourself online and that no one's online identity is ever truly safe or anonymous. So keep it clean. Another piece of your digital footprint is the filter bubble. The internet is almost fully customized now. Cookies allow for a personalized online experience, which Amazon would like you to believe is for your own convenience. But this leads to filter bubbles, and most of us live in them. This is when your digital footprint creates its own information bubble, like an echo chamber, so that all of your confirmation biases stay intact, and any outrage you already have will likely be compounded. If you frequent the same kind of media and your sources all share a similar agenda, that's the kind of information that you'll be exposed to. And when you're ready to check out other sites, it's like that there will be a host of recommendations. They'll be there and they'll be ready for you to click on. So these can take the form of closed Facebook groups where some opposing voices are simply not allowed access, which is also called the bandwagon effect. So now that you know the digital landscape and its virtual landmines, the good news is that you can control your own online experience. Rather than giving in to a common reaction of turn it off or just disengage, which I've sometimes wanted to do, there are things you can do to be a good digital citizen. It involves thinking critically about what you're seeing online and understanding the risks and benefits of sharing information. Create an oasis. Practice objectivity. Watch your emotional response. Analyze the sources. Look for citations, dates, timestamps, any way to identify the information regardless of the claims or quote next to it. Share carefully. Think before you spread information. Inform others. Let people know if something they're sharing is fake. Be the one person to stand up and say, actually, this is fake news, and here's why. Lastly, stay skeptical. Stay skeptical. Practice healthy skepticism. So keep up on your skills. This technology changes every day. So don't go away from this presentation and think that you're done. The good news is that you decide the kind of information you absorb and whether or not you like it or share it. Better yet, keep up on current information literacy sources. The News Literacy Project sends out an email breakdown of the viral memes each Monday for every week. Share those with your friends instead. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, or subscribe. So these are some of the information literacy terms that I introduced during this presentation. I hope they help give you some kind of way to articulate what you're seeing online to friends of yours and family, and hopefully it keeps everybody aware of the ways that misinformation and disinformation can affect us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. This is just scratching the surface, and there's so much more to unpack. Thanks for listening.